We are doing some notes. We have the same notes from the previous station for multiplication and division. So if you have those previous notes, great. If you don't, if you haven't started them yet because maybe you started on a different station, I want you to cut out those notes. So you're going to take this off so you get a nice little square. After you have that nice little square, I want you to take every single one of these dotted lines that you have here, and I want you to fold into the center. So it just folds right in here, just like that. We're going to do addition and subtraction with scientific notation, so that's where we're going to focus. I'm going to focus first on addition, okay? So with addition, we're going to write some steps down. If you need to, you can pause the video so you can set up your notes if you have not already done those. But steps for addition with scientific notation. Step 1, make both or all numbers in scientific notation. I'm going to write sci note because I don't want to write scientific notation, into the same power of 10. Okay? Same power of 10. Step 2, once they're in the same power of 10, add the decimal number. And step 3, carry over the power of 10. And last but not least, write your number in scientific notation if it's not already there. So let's look at an example. I have 4.2 times 10 to the third plus 2.3 times 10 to the first. So if I'm looking at these two numbers are very, very different numbers. 4.2 times 10 to the third, if I were to put that into real understanding, that is 4,200. 2.3 times 10 to the first is 23. If I were to add these numbers up and not pay attention to the power of 10, I'd say 4.2 plus 2.3 equals 6.5. And then I wouldn't know what to write for my power of 10 at that point in time because the power of 10 is different for each one. But 6.5 is a very different number than what I'm actually going to be getting because I have 4,200 plus 23. So I should get 4,223 as my final answer. So to work on this, I'm going to first write my numbers both in scientific notation, or both the numbers in scientific notation into the same power of 10. So I have 10 to the third and I have 10 to the first. So I can either modify this one and turn this into 10 to the first, which means I'd be multiplying this power of 10 by 2 tens, so it'd turn into 420 times 10 to the first. Or I could multiply this number, or divide this number by 2 tens and get 0.023 times 10 to the third. Doesn't matter which way you go. I tend to go into making the numbers smaller over here versus a number bigger over here because I feel like I start to make mistakes when I deal with too many decimal points. So I would rewrite this number here as 420 times 10 to the first plus 2.3 times 10 to the first. So now I can do the math. I'm going to add my decimal numbers. 420 plus 2.3 equals 422.3. And then I'm going to carry over my power of 10 because my power of 10 is now the same, times 10 to the first. Now last but not least, I need to write this back in scientific notation. So that means I'm moving this decimal point over to the left 2 units. That means I'm adding 2 tens to my multiplication. So I get 4.223 times 10 to the third as my final answer. Okay? Subtraction, similar. All right, you still have to make them into the same power of 10, but this time you may or may not have to do the scientific notation part. And honestly, that's always an optional step if it's already written in scientific notation, so you might not have to do that. But this time, we're doing the same thing. We're going to make both or all, in case you are subtracting lots of numbers in a row, both or all numbers in scientific notation, sci note, into the same power of 10. Number 2, after you've done that, you're going to add or subtract the decimal numbers. Subtract the decimal numbers. So subtract that number up in front, the part that's not the 10 to the whatever. And step 3, carry over the power of 10. And again, there's that optional step, number 4, write it in scientific notation. You don't always have to do that because maybe it's already written in scientific notation. So here's our example problem. We have 6.8 times 10 to the 5th minus 1.3 times 10 to the 4th. So if I look at these two problems, or if I look at these two numbers, 6.8 times 10 to the 5th minus 1.3 times 10 to the 4th, 6.8 times 10 to the 5th is 680,000. 1.3 times 10 to the 4th is 13,000. So while I want to say 6.8 minus 1.3 equals 5.5, I can't, because 680 is very different than 13 in terms of the powers of 10, in terms of like what I'd actually be dealing with. So I need to write these both as powers of 10 that have the same power of 10. So again, I'm always going to deal with the number that's a little bit easier to deal with. I can always go down easier in my brain than I can go up in terms of powers of 10. So I'm going to rewrite this as 68 times 10 to the 4th. In other words, I've moved this decimal point back. It means I've subtracted 1 from my exponent. I'm subtracting 1.3 times 10 to the 4th from that. 10 to the 4th from that. So 6.8 minus 1.3 gets me 67 times 10 to the 4th. And it's written in scientific notation already. So I'm all done. And essentially I have 667,000 as my final answer, which makes sense. Okay? Oh, wait, stop. No, sorry. I should have my decimal point right there. Sorry, I need to actually rewrite this in scientific notation. So I'm going to increase my decimal point by 1 place value. It means I'm adding a power of 10. So I should get 6.67 times 10 to the 5th. Excuse my mistake. 6.67 times 10 to the 5th, which now is 667,000. Thank you for watching. Now I want you to complete those notes if you haven't already done so. After you've completed those notes, you're going to be doing an escape room activity. You're going to be working with this sheet. You need to do each level in order. So you're doing level 1, then level 2, then level 3. And once you've completed those, if you're at home, if you are remotely, or if you're working remotely, you will put these numbers into a quiz. And if you got them right, I will send you back a code that you can then write here to prove that you've done everything. If you are in the classroom, you will show me your completed work, and then I will give you your escape code. Okay? In the classroom. That'll be great. Thank you for watching. Have a blast, and I will see you later.